rise of the Ruthless Jaguar, news of the fall of Silverback, and the 10 great assassins to the defense of the Ruthless Jaguar gang spread quickly, causing shock in the gang world. For many people, this was an unbelievable event because Silverback and the 10 great assassins had always been considered unbeatable warriors, unstoppable forces in the underground. The narrative of their defeat at the hands of the Ruthless Jaguar gang and their resilient defense spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of every major gang. The other major gangs, from the mighty gorilla to the cunning hyena, were all surprised by this event. Accounts of the repelled attack and the resilience of the Ruthless Jaguar gang quickly became hot topics in taverns and secret meetings. Jury, who stood up to protect his gang and destroy his enemies, suddenly became a hero in everyone's eyes. Stories about him spread, portraying him as a brave warrior, not only out to avenge his brother, but also to protect the honor of his gang. Taverns abuzz with tales. In the dimly lit taverns scattered across the city, the patrons couldn't stop talking about the recent events. Stories of the Ruthless Jaguar gang's successful defense were told and retold, each time with more embellishments. Jury's image grew larger than life, his bravery and tactical genius becoming legendary. One evening, in the bustling tavern known as the Serpent's Den, a group of gang members huddled together, their voices hushed but excited. "Did you hear?" Jury anticipated every move Silverback made, one man said, his eyes wide with admiration. Another nodded, sipping his drink. "Yeah, they say he even set traps within traps. The assassins never stood a chance. A hero emerges." Jury, best known as one of the infamous duel killers, was now a symbol of resilience and strategic intelligence. The gangs not only saw him as a hero but also as an inspiration. His rise from a feared enforcer to a revered leader captured the imagination of many. In a hidden hideout, Jury addressed his gang, his presence commanding and resolute. "We have shown the underworld that we are not to be underestimated. Our strength lies not just in our numbers, but in our ability to outthink and outmaneuver our enemies." His words were met with cheers and applause. The members of the Ruthless Jaguar gang felt a newfound sense of pride and unity. They had not only survived, but had thrived, turning a potential defeat into a resounding victory. The new model of defense gangs, large and small, began to look at the success of the Ruthless Jaguar gang and decided to learn from their methods. The gang's style of defense, with its sophisticated tactics and ability to predict attacks, became the new model. Gangs hastily built similar defense plans, from fortifying entrances and strengthening patrols to preparing detailed counterattack plans. Jury, the symbol of resilience. Jury's name became synonymous with resilience and strategic intelligence. Gang leaders across the city held secret meetings, discussing new defense strategies and how to incorporate Jury's methods into their own operations. The impact on the underworld. This event not only changed the current situation, but also laid the foundation for a new stage in the underworld, where strategy and intelligence in defense were emphasized more than ever. The era of brute strength was giving way to a new age of cunning and foresight. Mighty Gorilla Heis, the leader of the Mighty Gorilla gang, was sitting in his private room, listening to news from his subordinates about the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins against the Ruthless Jaguar gang. He leaned forward, his eyes shining with joy and excitement. "Great," Heis laughed loudly, his laughter echoing throughout the room. Silverback finally tasted defeat. The subordinates in the room were silent, waiting for their leader's next reaction. Heis stood up, walked back and forth, his eyes full of satisfaction. "We have been waiting for this day for a long time." The 10 great assassins seemed invincible, but now everyone sees that they are not. He turned to his subordinates, his face beaming with excitement. "We must take advantage of this opportunity. Let people spread the news of the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins. Let everyone know that we, the Mighty Gorilla gang, are no longer afraid of them too." An agile subordinate stepped up and respectfully asked, "Boss, should we strengthen our defenses and prepare for the next moves of Silverback and the 10 great assassins?" Heis smiled proudly. "Of course, we can't be complacent, but let's make everyone know that we're celebrating this victory. This will lower their morale and make them lose control." Red Lion Draven, the leader of the Red Lion gang, could not hide his joy when he heard about the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins against the Ruthless Jaguar gang. Sitting in the headquarters conference room, which still bore traces of the previous attack, Draven felt like he had been avenged. "The day has finally come," Draven said loudly, a bright smile on his face. He stood up and walked around the room, his heart beating loudly in his chest. Silverback and the 10 great assassins have tasted defeat, just as they have made us suffer. The gang members looked at their leader with admiration and sympathy. A subordinate stepped forward, his voice full of excitement. "Boss, this news is truly a great comfort to us after recent losses. We have seen that we are not the only ones suffering." Draven nodded, his eyes shining with determination. "That's right, justice has finally come. Their defeat today is justice for what they did to us." He turned to look around the room at the familiar faces of the Red Lion warriors who had accompanied him through the most difficult times. "We are not the only ones suffering. Silverback and the 10 great assassins also had this day, and it makes me feel that all our efforts matter." Another subordinate stepped forward, his eyes sparkling with respect. "Boss, our patience and will have paid off. We never give up, and today we can hold our heads high." Draven smiled and patted his subordinate's shoulder. "That's right. We have gone through many hardships, but that has only made us stronger. Today our joy is not only the defeat of our enemies, but also the affirmation that we are still standing, still resilient." He raised his glass of wine, a joyful smile clearly appearing on his face. "Let's drink to the enemy's defeat and our steadfastness." The subordinates quickly raised their glasses and chanted in unison, creating an atmosphere of joy and excitement in the room. Draven sat down, his eyes shining with faith and hope. "The war is not over yet, but today we can rejoice. The Red Lion is still strong and nothing can bring us down. Silverback and the 10 great assassins have learned that we are not easily defeated." Grey Wolf Ludi, the leader of the Grey Wolf gang, was standing on the balcony of the headquarters, looking far into the horizon. When he heard that Silverback and the 10 great assassins were defeated by the Ruthless Jaguar gang, he couldn't hide the joy in his heart. A slight smile flashed across Ludi's determined face. He remembered the day his headquarters was attacked, when Silverback and the 10 great assassins rushed in like fierce storms, destroying everything in their reach. The losses and pain they caused were still vivid in his memory. But today, things seemed to be somewhat calmed down. Entering the small meeting room, Ludi met his subordinates waiting. Excitement was evident on their faces. A subordinate spoke up. "Boss, the news of the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins is truly a great joy. Finally, they have to taste the feeling of defeat." Ludi nodded, his eyes sharp and full of determination. "That's right, we've been waiting for this day for a long time." Ludi stood up and looked around the room, which had witnessed many tense meetings and important decisions. The Grey Wolf has never backed down in the face of difficulty. Today, we celebrate not only the defeat of our enemies, but also our resilience and unity. He raised his glass, his eyes full of pride. "Let's drink to the challenges we've overcome." The subordinates raised their glasses in unison, creating a warm and excited atmosphere in the room. Ludi took a sip of wine, a warm feeling spreading in his heart. His joy was not only revenge, but also the affirmation that no matter how many difficulties they encountered, the Grey Wolf gang would still stand firm and continue to fight. Ludi looked far away out the window, his eyes full of determination. The horizon held promise and new challenges, but today was a day of triumph and celebration. Wrestling Bear. The Wrestling Bear gang, famous for their stubbornness and determination not to give up, were going through anxious days. The news of the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins against the Ruthless Jaguar gang not only brought joy to some gangs, but also made other gangs, like the Wrestling Bears, feel pressure and tension. Ai, the leader of the Wrestling Bear, was sitting in the small conference room, listening to reports about the current situation. Defense systems were being hastily built, fortified walls and barriers were being erected everywhere. The atmosphere in the headquarters was full of tension. Everyone was preparing for a confrontation that could happen at any time. A junior walked in, his voice filled with worry. "Boss, we have Susie. one of the 4 heroes who can stop Silverback. Ai pondered, his sharp eyes looking out the window. Even though Susi can stop Silverback, he has an erratic temper and has been imprisoned for over a year now because he attacked our brothers. Taking him out could be a double-edged sword. The surrounding subordinates nodded, agreeing with Ai's comment. Susi, an extremely powerful warrior, was famous for his extraordinary fighting abilities, but his erratic temper was a major concern. Ai clearly understood that using Susi could bring great advantages, but also cause unpredictable risks. We have to be careful, Ai continued. With or without Susi, we need to ensure that our defenses are strong enough to withstand any attack. The subordinates listened, their eyes filled with determination. They knew that the Wrestling Bears were not an easy gang to defeat. Although the number of members was not many, their stubbornness and determination could not be underestimated. Only death could demand their surrender, and every gang must fear the power of the Wrestling Bear. Ai looked around the room, his eyes filled with determination. We will prepare everything carefully. Don't let anyone shake Wrestling Bear. We will fight to the end. The subordinates nodded in unison, the atmosphere tense but full of determination. The Wrestling Bear gang was ready to face any challenge, protecting its headquarters and honor. Cunning Hyena. At the headquarters of the Cunning Hyena gang, the atmosphere was tense and filled with anxiety. Busi, the gang's leader, sat in his large office. The news about the defeat of Silverback and the 10 great assassins against the Ruthless Jaguar gang did not make Busi feel happy, but only more worried. A junior walked in, his voice full of confidence and determination. Boss, we don't need to worry. We have skilled shooters. Our bullets go many times faster compared to Ruthless Jaguar's arrows. We also have Ludi, one of the 4 heroes, who can compete with Silverback. Bus pondered, his eyes narrowed as if thinking about something. He nodded, his voice slow and careful. I agree with you. However, we must build unbreakable defenses. We cannot rely only on weapons and Ludi. We need a comprehensive and thorough plan. Busi turned to look out the window, where the gunmen were practicing. They are excellent shooters. Each bullet fired is as accurate as a fateful arrow. He knows that careful preparation and solid defense are the most important factors in protecting the headquarters from any attack. Luti is a powerful warrior, but we cannot depend on him alone, Busi continued. We need to make sure that everyone is ready and that our defenses are strong enough to withstand any attack. The junior nodded, his eyes sparkling with determination. They knew that under Busi's leadership, the Cunning Hyena gang would not be easily defeated. The combination of skilled shooters and powerful warriors like Ludi will create an impenetrable defense. Busi looked around the room, his eyes full of determination. Our shooters are the best, but we need to use our brains as well as our brawn. Let's devise traps and fallback positions. We can't afford to underestimate our enemies. White Tiger. An anxious atmosphere hung in the headquarters of the White Tiger gang. Mema, the leader of the gang, stood in front of a large table with a pen in hand, drawing defense lines and planning against the upcoming attack. Each tick of the clock on the wall reminded him of the urgency of the situation. A junior walked in, his voice urgent. Boss, we need Tiga's help to strengthen our defense. Mima pondered, his eyes thoughtful. I know, but Tiga is already in prison because I made an arrangement with the government. He hates me very much. There's no way he will come forward to help me. The junior smiled schemingly. Anyway, we still have Tiga's younger brother. He is also extremely strong. Mema didn't say another word, just looked at the map, thinking about the future of the White Tiger gang. In his mind, memories of Tiga appeared clearly. Tiga used to be a strong and loyal warrior, but due to internal disputes, Mema had to arrange for him to go to prison. Now that the gang is at risk of being attacked by Silverback and the 10 great assassins, Tiga's hatred becomes a major obstacle. Mema turned to his junior, his voice low. TG may be strong, but he doesn't have the experience and wisdom like his brother. We need to be more careful and calculated. The junior nodded, agreeing with Mema's words. They knew that even with TG, they still needed to prepare everything carefully. TG has power but lacks actual combat experience, which Tiga has accumulated over the years. Mema stood up, his eyes determined. We will prepare everything. put TG in an important defensive position and arrange the formation appropriately. Silverback and the 10 great assassins will not easily defeat us.